So the second half of our module is about the cost and output relationship. Okay, so here, the cost-output relationship normally plays an important role in determining the optimum level of production. So of course, knowledge of cost production relationship or cost output relationship helps the manager in cost control, profit prediction, pricing, promotion, and the like. So the relationship between the cost and its determinants is described as the cost function as follows, if you could see there in our screen. Okay. So basically, in production, the cost and output relationship is very important because this will determine how efficient does a company is using their assets to produce their goods or services to earn a certain level of profit or income. Not only for that purpose, but also for other purposes like what we have mentioned in a while ago. So here, considering the period, the cost function can be classified as short cost function or short run cost function and long run cost function. So in economics theory, when we say short run, of course, this is the period during which the physical capacity of firm is fixed and the output can be increased only by using existing capacity that will allow us to bring changes in output by physical capacity of the firm. Okay, so that is for short-term cost function. Okay, so here under the short-term cost function, the cost output relationship is the cost concepts made use of the cost behavior are our total cost, average cost, and marginal cost. Because in short run, we are talking about the change, okay, in the different outputs. So the total cost is actual money spent to produce a particular quantity of output. Okay, so we have discussed this a while ago in the previous part of the module. Okay, so if you could still remember here, total cost is equal to the total fixed cost. Or I mean the average cost. Okay, is total fixed cost. Or total cost, I mean divided by the total output of quantity. So here, marginal cost. Okay, please take note of this one. This is on the first formula. This is fixed cost plus variable cost. Okay, total cost. Okay, so this is our average cost. You have learned that in the previous portion of the discussion. We also have there the marginal cost. Okay. So we have here the output cost output relationship in the long or in the short run. Okay, so in this illustration, okay, we have here the units of output that is in terms of quantity. We have also the total fixed cost and the total variable cost right here. Okay, and then if you add them up, okay, in this column, it will constitute our total cost. So again, that is total fixed cost plus total variable cost. For our average variable cost, so all you have to do is to divide total variable cost with our quantity. Okay, and if you would like to determine also the average fixed cost, so all you have to do is to divide the total fixed cost by our output or quantity. Okay, so this is the column. So our average cost therefore is total cost divide this column right here divided by this quantity right here. Or you can also add the average variable cost and the average fixed cost. If you could still remember that in our previous discussion on the first part of this video lecture. Okay. So the cost-output relationship in the long run, on the other hand, is a period during which all inputs are variable, including the one which are fixed. In this case, in the short run. So actually, there are cases where your fixed cost will become mixed cost, meaning to say there is a portion of it as fixed and some portion have increased, because if you still remember our relevant range, for example, our relevant range is 100,000 units. For 100,000 units, our fixed cost is 1 million. If the company is able to produce 150,000 units, so in this case, we exceeded the relevant range, and therefore the 1 million fixed cost is not applicable for the additional 50,000 units. So in this case, we will add another cost. So that makes it variable now. For if you will get the total of the first 100 units plus the 50,000 units that is added in the production, the first 1 million is fixed and the additional will be variable. That's why it's called mixed cost. Okay, so this is in the case of the long run cost output relationship. So over the long period, the size of the plant can be changed also. Unwanted buildings can be sold. Staff can be increased or reduced. The long run enables the firms to expand the scale of their operations by bringing or purchasing larger quantities of all the inputs. So thus, in the long run, all factors will now become variable because the cost will be changed or increased or decreased depending on the situation. Okay? So, production concept and analysis. Okay, so here, when the production concept was found, okay, a production-oriented business dominated the market. Okay, so this was from the beginning of capitalism in the mid-1950s. So during this time of the production concept, business are concerned or they concern themselves primarily with production, manufacturing, and efficiency issues. So the reason that production was given a major importance was because of the sales law, which was from the French economist Jean-Baptiste Say. Okay, so which stated that supply creates its own demand. Okay, that's why if you could notice, some of the goods and services that we have in the market are not necessarily essential, but because of the persuasion of promotion and advertisement, it creates demand even if it does not exist before. Okay, so that's why production concept takes place. So the basic proposition of the production concept is the customers will choose the products and services that are widely available and of course that are of low cost. So business is mainly concerned with making as many units as possible because they want to earn more to sell more. So by concentrating on producing maximum volume, such a business aims to maximize their profitability by exploiting their economies of scale. Meaning to say, the more that they can produce, the more that they can sell to other parts of the society or larger portion of the market. Okay, so managers also try to achieve higher volume with low cost and intensive distribution strategy. This is how they are being measured in terms of, or evaluated, in terms of efficiency. Okay, higher volume of production with lower cost and intensive distribution strategy. So this seems a viable, or this seems to be a viable strategy in a developing market, where market expansion is the survival strategy for the business. So companies are also interested to take the benefit of scale of economies so that they pursue this kind of orientation. Because again, their objective is to sell, to produce more, to sell more, to gain more. Okay. So in production-oriented business, the needs of the customers are secondary compared to the increase in output. Because here we are looking into production-oriented business, so they do not actually regard the benefit on the part of the customers or their demand. What they have in mind is to produce more, to sell more, and to gain more. Okay, so such an approach is probably most effective when the business is operating in a very high growth market or where there is a potential for economies of scale. Okay, is very high or significant. So it is natural, of course, that the companies cannot deliver quality products and suffer from problems arising out of impersonal behavior with the customers. Okay, so this is the trade-off, okay, of this type of orientation. So the production analysis is basically concerned with the analysis in which the resources such as land, labor, and capital are employed to produce a firm's final product. But of course, they have to take into consideration the quality of their output. To produce these goods, the basic inputs are classified into this in cost also, or inputs, variable and fixed inputs. Okay. So variable inputs. When we say variable inputs, these are the change or are variable in the short run or even in the long run. While fixed inputs are only those that remain constant in the short term. So if you could still remember in the previous discussion earlier. Okay. So here, product cost in the short run. Okay, or this is an application of our law of diminishing returns. In the short run, the law of diminishing returns, or also known as or termed as law of variable proportions, this states that given the state of technology, if we go on employing more of one factor of production, other things will remain the same. Its marginal productivity will diminish after some point. Okay, so meaning to say, this talk about the quality of the input that is being used for production, as well as the quality. Okay, so as the time passes by, there is efficiency that is being established, but there will come a time that this efficiency will decline. Okay, that is what we mean by diminishing returns after some point. Okay, so here we have the assumption for the law of diminishing returns. Okay, so we have one. Okay, the state of technology is constant. These are the assumptions under this state. Okay, letter B, one factor of production must always be fixed. Thus, this law is not applicable when all factors are variable in the long run. Letter C, this law is not applicable when two inputs are used in a fixed proportion. So this amounts to say that the law is applicable only to varying ratios between two inputs. So this is the case where this law of diminishing return is present. Okay, so here we have production cost in the long run. So this is also termed as law of return to scale. Okay, when we say law of return to scale, so this refers to the long run analysis of production that is in contrast with the short term analysis. Okay, according to this law, the long run output can be increased by changing all the factors in the same proportion or by different proportions. So as all of the factors inputs are variable in the long run, the production function is as follows given here. If you could see that. Okay, so we have here the different types of returns to scale. So number one, this is by the way applicable in the long term concept. Okay, so the constant return, the first is constant return to scale. Okay, so if the proportionate change in output is the same as the proportionate change in input, then we say that there is a constant return in scale or to scale. So this is determined by change or percentage change in output is equal to percentage change in input because constant return to scale is present. Okay, so the next one is decrease returns to scale. Okay, so this is the opposite of the first type. So in this case, decreasing return to scale if the proportionate change in output is less than the proportionate change in input. Okay, this is also reflected in this illustration. Decreasing because the change is not equal, or the change in output is not equal to the change in input. Okay, so here the output change is less, meaning to say more change is applied in the input, but the change in output or the effect does not change that much. Okay, so the third is the increasing returns to scale. By the way, this is the opposite, of the second. Okay, so increasing returns to scale is if the proportionate change in output now is more than the proportionate change in our input. So again, this is just the opposite of the second type. Okay, next is production process. So this is the last topic under this module. Okay, so for production process, we are classify the processes according to the scale or the amount of production that is being conducted or processed. So here, the first classification is the project or job-based production. So under this type, this is one of a kind of production in which only one unit is being manufactured at a time. Meaning to say what is being demanded or ordered, that will be produced. Without demand, without order, no production. So this type of production is often used for very large project or for individual customers. This is normally specific type, and what do you call that? The output is unique. Okay, so this type of production is often, or because the customer's needs and preferences play such a decisive role in the final output, is essential for the operation manager to maintain an open and frequent communication with the customer because they want to know the specification that they will include in the output. So the workers involved here in this type of production are highly skilled or specialists in their field. So examples or project of job-based production are custom home construction, haircuts, and yachts. So again, very specific output for different types of their customers. So the next type of production process is under the batch production or processing. So here, this is a method used to produce similar items in groups, stage by stage, and batch production. So the product goes through each stage of the process together before moving on to the next stage. So the degree to which workers are involved in this type of production will also depend on the type of the product that they produce. So it is common for machinery to be used for actual production, and workers participate only at the beginning and the end of the process depending on their production process. So the examples of the products under the batch production include bakeries, textiles, and furniture. These are, because a batch production is producing a large amount of output of the same product. Okay, and the next is mass production. So this is the larger type of the second classification. When we say mass production, this is used by companies that need to create standardized products in large quantities. Okay, products mass produced in order to generate the inventory needed to meet high market demand. So this type of production usually requires heavy investment for in machinery and equipment. So workers here are generally needed to assemble the finished goods. So the examples of the products under this includes toilet paper, cell phones, and automobiles. Okay, mass production. Okay, and the last is the flow or continuous production. So this is also known as the continuous production. It occurs when a process runs 24 hours a day. Companies whose products are the same use this production approach to reduce cost and increase efficiency. So the systems are highly automated here, and workers act as monitors rather than active participants because here they're mostly dependent on the technology, machinery, and equipment for production. So the examples of goods under this kind of production process include gas and oil, steel, and chemical products. Okay, so that ends our module number